Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, reviews of comics new and old, to history, to anecdotes, truly wherever our whims take us. Oh yes, there's more Lois, the baffling, exciting adventures of Lois Lane and her classic quests to get married. We have a whole playlist, so of course check that out. We once more must return to Batman, Bruce Wayne, for this has happened more than once. Recently at the time of this recording there was an article released where Zack Snyder was talking about wanting to pair Bruce Wayne and Lois Lane in the Snyderverse, the DCEU, whatever we're gonna be calling it at some point, I commit to nothing. He must have been inspired not just by those DCEU episodes, but by these outings and Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, reading them thinking, finally, there are dozens of us. Dozens! Now you know I will never say no to a good old-fashioned classic Lois video. So I have another one to add to our Lois Getting Married playlist. Get ready for the misunderstanding trope to be taken up to 100. This time when Lois goes to marry Bruce is going to be very different than that imaginary story where she married Batman, which actually turned out pretty okay. You know, all things considered. But before we get started, I'm Sasha, and if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Join us on this comic book journey. So we've actually already looked at the issue of Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane that this story is part of. That's right, in this issue you get two awkward Lois relationship dramas, two for the price of one, plus a third story. We're back at Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane issue 59, the one where she went back in time to save Krypton and ended up dating Clark's dad. This was after her time machine broke down, and she also accosted a toddler Clark on her way back to the present before getting trapped in the Phantom Zone. If you missed all that excitement, I will of course have a card and a link. Lois almost becoming Clark's mom was the second story. Now we're on to the third story, so you got them back to back. Get ready for Superman and Batman's joke on Lois Lane, probably featuring Adam West Batman, because once more my throat hurts. This story is from the year 1965 and has art by Curt Swan. The author was a question mark, but based on the level of madness, I would be willing to assign it to Otto Binder, the same person who wrote the last story about nearly marrying his dad. But I don't know, maybe somebody else will want to lay claim to it. Our teaser panel reveals that Batman has promised to help out Superman by disguising himself as him while he's away, but Lois sees him disrobing and of course assumes that Bruce Wayne is Superman. It sounds simple on the surface, but rarely has such a run-of-the-mill misunderstanding plot gone so far and brought me so much happiness. Just why? We open on Lois pursuing a hot tip that the loot from a bank robbery was dropped in a lake in a watertight box. So she of course has not informed the police but is going to investigate herself. She finds it, her tip was right, but then she is assailed by cramps, or she ate a huge lunch no, just cramps. So she's drowning, but as she blacks out, Superman appears to save her. Does Lois even fear death anymore? Superman is always there. Except when he isn't. Taking her to the shore, Bruce misjudges just how unconscious she is and starts changing back into Bruce Wayne attire. This knowledge thrills Lois. Look at her face. He's handsome, powers, and rich. The Lois Lane trifecta. She says that this is the info she needs to go from Lois Lane to Mrs. Lois Superman. Doesn't even know his name. No wonder Superman asked me to disguise myself as him while he took off on a space mission. The anti-gravity belt he gave me enables me to fly to Lois's rescue as he requested, whenever she gets into trouble. All the time. Superman knows what's up. He knows that without him there is a strong percentage that Lois will be killed. The woman jumped off a cliff because her car broke down and she was late for work to try to get him to take her. Didn't even think about whether he was off planet or not. That is the level we are dealing with here. Bruce thinks that she's cute, but he's glad she doesn't have her sights set on him, thank you very much. Lois meanwhile is doing her favorite thing, scheming. This'll be easy as pie. I'll play up to Bruce. He'll be off guard in his secret identity. Before he realizes what's happening, he'll be proposing to me. Her fantasy involves her pretending to be surprised when he tells her after their wedding. No, Lois, the I'm a superhero speech should come before the wedding. Before. Bruce has stopped a crime involving jewels, which we only need to know about because of the jewels in question that will come into play in a little bit. By the time he gets home, Lois is at his house. She says that she's there to interview him because of his philanthropy. Yeah, that sounds good. And if this playlist has taught us anything, it's that the planet will run with any story. They were planning to run a puff piece on Jimmy Olsen. Bruce agrees to this because it means that he can keep an eye on her. A Lois in his sight is a Lois who isn't drowning in a lake. Bruce gets a phone call, so Lois does some snooping, and in a closet she finds the Bat costume just hanging up on a hanger. Oh sweet Silver Age Bruce, so trusting. Now we see the full dedication of Lois to her Superman delusions. When faced with this costume, does she switch thoughts to, oh, he must be Batman? No, she assumes that Superman must help out Batman sometimes by pretending to be him. I mean, she's right. She can't deviate from the Superman path. It's just a one-track tunnel vision. I think she should be horrified that he's just leaving the costume around. And apparently not even ironing it. Look at how wrinkled it is. From then on, no matter what Bruce does, she's convinced that it's to cover up for the fact that he's Superman. He twists his ankle. That's him pretending to be like us. You know, us lowly, easily injured mortals. When Bruce is showing her around one of his factories, she realizes that, oh no, it's Lana's birthday and she doesn't have a present for her. She just remembered this suddenly. Oh no, Lana. This is at the same time that Bruce realizes that he accidentally pocketed one of the jewels from the crime. Yes, accidentally. So he pretends to find a diamond just amongst a pile of coal and says she should send that to Lana ASAP. Just a lone diamond. Is it even Lana's birthday? I don't believe anything anymore. While Bruce is thinking that he'll reimburse the jeweler later, Lois thinks that he must have crushed that coal to form a diamond for her. And even in her fantasy, her imaginary Superman is gloating about how he's tricking her and she'll never guess he's Superman. After seeing all the tricks these two have pulled on each other, I can't fault her for thinking that. Is this just a game they like to play? Like, they seem kind of into it. At least she does. I don't even know anymore. This playlist is warping me. Look at what they've done to each other. Bruce asks her out to dinner because if she's at dinner with him, she's not falling out of a helicopter. I guess it's no secret that you care a lot for Superman, Lois. Just as a friend, Bruce, there are plenty of attractive bachelors around. Nothing intrigues the much pursued male like disinterest in him. Lois, take all of the magazines you've ever gotten romantic advice from and burn them. Bruce suddenly panics because he sees a woman coming towards him with a gun. But silly Bruce, it's a camera shaped like a gun. People know how Bruce's parents died, right? That's awful. Coming at the man with novelty guns. He is not over it. She's like, camera girl, I thought. You can get up from behind the table now, Bruce. You clever rascal. She thinks he knew the gun was a camera because he was using his X-ray vision, and he staged that panic to distract her. Yes. Just a little staged panic attack, it's fine. Bros make sure that your girlfriends that you won't marry don't die while you're off on a mission in space. On the way home, Lois spots some men who are wanted by police and asks Bruce to tail them, which he does because he's interested for Batman reasons. They follow them to a warehouse where Lois says they should go in because they can overhear something that could help the police. Or they could just call them, but you don't get yourself tied to a chair like that. Bruce just goes along with this, and so they get caught, and she gets tied to the aforementioned chair, and he gets thrown into a walk-in cooler. Thankfully, these criminals have been stealing fur coats. So you guessed it, Bruce puts one on to keep warm while he picks his way out, and Lois assumes he forced his way out with super strength. When she hugs him and he's warm, she takes that as even more proof that he must indeed be Superman. This is why they tell you not to start an experiment with a foregone conclusion, because then you can just warp all the data to fit it. It's just like a reductionist argument. Don't get all twisted up in knots like Lois Lane. They do go to notify the police, and to thank him, she gives him a kiss, leading to my second favorite panel in this issue. Now for some positive thinking. Marry me, Superman, marry me, marry me, marry me. She's cute, she's smart, she can dance, and she can kiss. Maybe Superman will marry her someday. Even Bruce isn't sure about that though. No matter how much power of positive thought that Lois tries to employ. Two people kissing each other, both thinking about Superman. Just gonna leave that there for you. There's a fanfic in there somewhere. Once she's on her way home, Bruce decides that it's time to take care of those fur trafficking goons. And he gets dressed as Batman, but then decides, you know what? Have a little bit of fun. Go out as Superman. We surrender, Superman. We realize we can't beat you. Lucky Superman. I sure envy the way he gets crooks to give up because they know he's invulnerable. Ah, so this is why Clark has so much free time to think up these elaborate tricks to pull on Lois. Hearing about the capture, Lois is more convinced than ever that Bruce is Superman, and she starts to tell her sister Lucy all about it. But the real Superman is back, and he had come for his nightly stalk and eavesdropping session, so he hears this. And Silver-Age Superman will never pass up an opportunity to mess with Lois. The next morning, Bruce shows up at Lois's house and proposes. They plan a whole wedding. People are there, it's happening. Her dad is walking her down the aisle. When all of a sudden, here's Superman. He's going to be my best man. Thousands wasted. People booked time off work. They're probably going to cover this in the Daily Planet. And Lois's feelings. This wins top panel for yet another Superman is the best man and never the groom outing. Lois says she needs to talk to Bruce alone for a minute. Can't marry you if you aren't Superman, because it's him I love. So comes a conversation that if her fantasy wasn't him telling her after, could have happened way before this went this far. So what's his excuse, his rationale for why he had the costume? He was bored and he just wanted to, and so he offered Clark $50,000 to donate to the charity of his choice to borrow his costume and use a gravity belt. Yeah, that sounds legit, and she's not concerned about the fact that Superman is apparently loaning out his costume to the highest bidder. But wait, what about the Batman costume? Oh, the same excuse, similar arrangement, just throw in dollar bills so that you can wear superhero costumes. Lois Lane, top reporter. I'm brokenhearted over losing you, Lois. I'll never forget you. I hope I don't sound too corny. Oh, I'm feeling such a rat toying with your affections. Try to forgive me, Bruce. All right, move along, guest. Nothing to see here. Again, doggy bags at the door. The last panel reveals Clark got in touch with Bruce to set this whole thing up so he could arrive as best man so that they teach her a lesson. That'll learn her to scheme to marry him. And then they have a laugh about how she almost married Batman. Oh, they're both awful. Best friends for life. Everyone here is awful. It was a parade of deceit and twisted dark parodies of romance. Well, I mean, Bruce wasn't too awful up until the end, but still, for the most part, he was just concerned that if he stopped looking at Lois, she'd find some way to get herself killed. I mean, is he wrong? Never forget the girlfriend, the title of the comic. She is supposed to be Superman's girlfriend. Lois driven to near desperation and madness in her bid to get him to marry her. Superman taking out his resentment over not wanting to get married to her. Bruce, someone who does what Superman just asks him to apparently. These stories are diamonds that you pretend to find on the ground and then FedEx over to Lana Lang. Was it even her birthday? I need to know. The inner workings of Lois's mind, how she was able to take all evidence and twist it to fit her conclusion. This was fascinating. I had rough random twists to entertain me greatly. The furs in the cooler, the diamonds he finds in his pocket and just decides to offload on her. The fact that all the action starts because he saw her driving to a lake and followed her in his car. Love is keeping your girlfriend alive, so you can watch them almost marry your best friend under the mistaken assumption that he is you. So what do you think of this one? Where does it rank on your Lois getting married list? Is this more or less disturbing than her going back in time and then kissing his toddler self and almost marrying his dad? Probably less. Or equally, but in different ways. Who's the worst here? Or are they all winners? Or are we the winners for the entertainment that we just enjoyed? I want to hear all your thoughts down below. While you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time of your day to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.